The illusion of invulnerability. I used to read those stories online, the ones filled with sobs and drama, and I'd think to myself, it's just noise. People just need to learn how to talk to each other. I felt insulated, protected by the fortress I had built over 2.5 decades. But life has a cruel way of teaching humility. Now I am the one drowning in that very noise. I'll try to be brief, though words are poor vessels for this. How do you describe the feeling when your blood turns to acid? When thoughts stampede like wild horses through your skull, when sleep becomes a foreign concept, and your lungs simply refuse to take in enough oxygen? For 25 years, we were the gold standard. Two daughters, 17 and 12 the ages, where they start looking at their parents as a blueprint for their own futures. We had all: the apartment, the car, the summer house, the garage, the vacations abroad. We weren't just a couple, we were an institution. People envied us. The architecture of deceit. The 2 days that followed the corporate party were not just days, they were a slow motion car crash that I watched from the driver's seat, unable to look away. I remember the way she walked through the door that night. The air around her felt different, heavy, charged with a static electricity that hadn't been there before. She didn't look me in the eye. That was the first red flag. For 25 years, we had a language of glances, a silent communication that required no words. But that night, the frequency was dead. The traffic was terrible, she said, her voice a pitch too high, a fraction too fast. The car broke down for a bit, and we had to wait. I looked at the clock. 2 hours. It takes 50 minutes to get from that venue to our doorstep. Even with a light snow falling, the math didn't work. I felt a cold knot tighten in the pit of my stomach. It's a strange thing, intuition. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It points at the small things: the way she kept her phone screen down on the nightstand, the way she showered longer than usual, as if trying to scrub off a memory that wouldn't budge. The next 48 hours were a master class in psychological torture. I would ask a simple question, and she would provide a labyrinth of an answer. Who was in the car? Just the driver and a few colleagues. Why the delay? I told you, the car, the talk, the exhaustion. I watched her move through our home, our sanctuary, and she looked like a stranger playing a role. Every time I reached for her hand, she found a reason to move away. A dish needed washing. A child needed help with homework. The garage door needed checking. I sat in my study, the silence of the house echoing the roar in my head. I began to doubt my own sanity. Am I being paranoid? I asked myself. After 25 years, have I become the jealous villain in my own story? But the logic, a cold, hard logic of time and distance, stood like a wall I couldn't climb over. And then came the confession. It didn't happen with a bang. It happened with a whimper. A moment of weakness in the kitchen, under the hum of the refrigerator. The lies had become too heavy for her to carry, and the weight was crushing her too. When she finally said the words he asked the driver to leave, it felt like the floor had vanished beneath me. The man from her office, the one with the dreams, he hadn't just stolen a moment, he had invited himself into our 25-year history and set a fire in the middle of it. The betrayal wasn't just the physical act in a cold car on a dark road. The betrayal was the 2 days of looking me in the face and weaving a shroud of lies while our daughters slept in the next room. The hour of silence. For 2 days I lived in a fog of lies. I couldn't square that missing hour in my mind. She told me he was pestering her, that nothing happened, that they were just talking. But the math of the heart never lies. The truth, when it finally broke, was pathetic. A drunken decision. A planned betrayal. He had asked the driver to stop the car and step out. In the back seat of a company vehicle, 25 years of history were traded for a moment of blurred intimacy. She told me later she didn't even enjoy it. It's almost funny, isn't it? The tragedy is stripped of its dignity when the sin itself is described as mediocre. They don't want to be together. It was a one-time thing. The aftermath. Our intimacy had been quiet lately. I've been struggling a long, dark story of a suppressed state of mind. But lack of sex isn't an excuse for a lack of soul. If the fire is low, you gather wood, you don't burn the house down. I have always lived by a principle: no spark with a stranger is worth the monumental effort put into building a marriage. But now the capital of our trust has crumbled. I can find it in me to forgive the act, the physical, drunken mistake. But the systematic dismantling of my faith in the person I shared my life with, that is a different beast entirely. I told the girls I had an emergency business trip. I told them I might not make it back for New Year's. It kills me because they shouldn't breathe the poisonous air of this infatuation. I drove away, nowhere in particular, just away from the ruins. I found his wife's contact. I told her everything. Some might call it petty, I call it justice. Why should I be the only one drowning in this New Year's filth? The road back. For the first time I sat across from a psychologist. I used to think I was my own best doctor, but this time the weight was too much to carry alone. I spent hours shoveling snow. The physical exhaustion is the only thing that quiets the stampede in my head. I can't talk to friends. If two people know, the whole world knows. I suspect in time we might find a way to patch things up. But for now I cannot look at her. I am searching for harmony in the wreckage.